Firefighting in Canada this week is brought to you by Wildfires of Canada, a division of CVIS Incorporated, Canada's largest insurer of firefighters. In this edition, the BC Forests Watchdog wants the province to change how it manages forests to reduce the risk of more wildfires. And a smoke alarm program in Surrey, BC celebrates a milestone. Then, researchers find a link between long-term exposure to wildfire-related air pollutants and mortality. British Columbia's independent forest watchdog is calling on the province to change how it manages forests to reduce wildfire risk. A report from the BC Forest Practices Board says the wider forest landscape is, quote, severely vulnerable, reported the Canadian press. Risk mitigation currently focuses on areas near communities. In 2017, 2018, and 2021, BC experienced its three largest wildfire seasons in 102 years on record. Those 3 seasons affected 34,000 square kilometers of land. The province spent about $800 million on fire suppression in 2021, but indirect costs could have been up to $24 billion, the report states. Provincial data shows 45% of BC's public land is at high to extreme fire risk, reported the Canadian press. The board recommends developing a long-term fire management vision and action plan to support landscape resilience in forests, spanning all levels of government. A shift to landscape fire management would create more resilient forest areas that are less vulnerable to catastrophic wildfires. The practice would include the creation of fuel breaks, an increase in the diversity, density, and age of trees, and heightened usage of cultural and prescribed burns in forests. The report notes there is also a need for increased collaboration with Indigenous peoples on fire and forest management. Surrey Fire Service's smoke alarm program is celebrating 16 years of operation in British Columbia. Home Safe is a fire safety campaign designed to reduce residential fire occurrences, associated injuries, and fatalities. More than 140,000 homes have been visited to check for and install working smoke alarms since its inception. The number of injuries and fatalities at residential fires dropped by roughly 48% from 2006 to 2022. The rate of residential structure fires in Surrey dropped by 69% from 19 fires out of 10,000 units in 2006 to 6 fires out of 10,000 units in 2022. Firefighters and community fire service volunteers check more than 12,000 smoke alarms per year. Researchers have found a link between long-term exposure to wildfire-related air pollutants and mortality. Long-term exposure to wildfire-related fine particulate matter increases the risk of all-cause, non-accidental, and neoplasm mortality, a study states. Fine particulate matter are tiny particles in the air that reduce visibility and cause the air to appear hazy when levels are elevated. Evidence suggests that exposure to those air pollutants had long-term impacts on neoplasm mortality. Those findings are consistent with a previous study that said long-term exposure to wildfire-related fine particulate matter was associated with cancer mortality. Researchers say females and adults over 60 are more vulnerable to mortality from short-term exposure to wildfire-related fine particulate matter. The data comes from the UK Biobank cohort, and researchers say more studies are needed. Thanks again to Wildfires of Canada, a division of CVIS Incorporated, Canada's largest insurer of firefighters. Stay tuned for our next episode on Friday, July 21st.